Hello and welcome to Baggies View. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined on the phone by Chris Lebkowski, West Bromwich Albion correspondent. Chris, you were at the game against Blackpool on Monday night. It wasn't an ideal result. Run us through your initial thoughts on that game.
Well, you know, I think it's one of those games really where you've got to take the positives from it. They lost two men, one quite harshly, I have to say, which they'll be appealing against Pablo Ibanez. Whether it was a foul or not is debatable, but I think it was very harsh in terms of the red card, and of course we know West Brom are appealing against that. Gonzalo Jara, well, it's difficult to know what went through his head when he made that challenge. You know, Albion were a man down. There was a player in a position where he probably wasn't causing a lot of problems for Albion's backline, and he just lost his head really. And it's unfortunate because we saw West Brom's display in the sort of latter stages of the first half and the second half. They broke quickly from midfield. They caused Blackpool a lot of problems. You know, Di Matteo got it right actually in terms of his substitutions. Poor Simon Cox had to make way, but he brought on Stephen Reid to bolster that defence up after Pablo was sent off, and then to bring on Dorrans after Jara was sent off in place of Fortuna. It was probably viewed as a little bit of an unusual move at the time in terms of taking a striker off, but it did the trick. They played with a lot of power and pace from midfield, and it did open Blackpool up towards the end. And it was hard to imagine that West Brom were two players down at times because they were dominant for long periods of that game.
And of course, they scored with a few minutes left to go. It must have been very frustrating for West Brom, knowing that if they'd had one or possibly two more men, they probably would have gone on to win the game. Well,
yeah, I mean, you can never really tell how the dynamics of a game will be altered with hindsight, but yeah, that would be a fair assumption to make, certainly because of the way they controlled that game, and and I don't sort of wish to be too disrespectful of Blackpool, but there wasn't a great deal of quality there really, and I think with 10 players, certainly Albion would have got a result, and with 11, I think I think given the way they played, I think there's a very good chance they would have got a result. So it's unfortunate, really. Albion were due a little bit of bad luck, and they got that in the form of poor refereeing, if you like, and just a lack of good luck at the end in the game in front of goal. So yeah, I mean, Albion fans, it was an interesting reaction really, because the Albion fans were tremendous throughout, and it's just changed to a couple of supporters after the game. There was a real feel of pride and adulation in how the players had performed, and that whole performance really brought together the fans and the players, and I think Albion can benefit from that. I think it'll give them a fresh impetus. I think they'll go into the Man City game regardless of suspensions. I think they'll go into that game full of confidence. I think the sort of bond that exists between fans and players was really strengthened that night, and that's going to be a key thing for West Brom.
You mentioned the Man City game there. Do we have any team news or any injury and suspension news ahead of that game yet?
Well, suspension news, Gonzalo Jara will be out for 3 games. If Pablo's appeal fails in the next couple of days, which we should find out certainly by Thursday, then he will miss that game, but he will miss that game only. It's only a 1-game ban. Injury-wise, I expect James Morrison and Jonas Olsen to miss the game. James is struggling with a knee injury. Jonas has an Achilles problem, which has, by all accounts, required a jab over the last few days. So they're major dates. Pete Todd and Wingy, his comeback continues. We seem to be taking 2 steps forward and 1 back with Peter. We keep reporting that he's nearly there, and it just doesn't happen for him. But we had the clearest indication yet from the manager after Monday's game that he is a lot nearer now and should hopefully be fit for the Man City match. And I think that's pretty much everyone in terms of injuries. So, it'll be interesting to see whether Pablo gets off with his red card. I think that will give Albion's shape and team a whole different look, just having that one centre-half back, because if he's without Pablo and Olsen, it's going to cause him a problem on Sunday.
Okay, Chris, well, thanks for joining us again today. We'll be back again with more Baggies View next week.